That collection is appointment only. I only asked for another size.
Check her bag!
Take your hand off my neck.
She didn't steal it. You know her?
She's my ex-wife. She always wanted things she couldn't afford.
Preserve every second of this footage.
The diamond brooch hit the marble floor before Camille Brooks did. A security guard twisted her arm behind her back and forced her against a glass display while dozens of shoppers stared. Her canvas tote had been dumped open beside her feet. A wallet, a phone charger, 2 peppermint candies, and her 14-year-old daughter's violin rosin were scattered across the polished floor of Vantrelle's most exclusive store. Near the center of the mess lay a diamond brooch worth $86,000. "Don't touch it," the store manager snapped. "That woman stole it." Camille's cheek pressed against the cold glass. She could see her own reflection between rows of jeweled watches, deep brown skin, short natural curls, a plain camel coat, and eyes that remained almost unnervingly calm. Across the room, a woman in a silver dress had already raised her phone. "This is unbelievable," the woman whispered dramatically to her live stream. "We are watching a robbery at Vantrelle in real time." More phones eared. Camille felt the guard tighten his grip. "I'm not resisting," she said evenly. "You can take your hand off my neck." The guard hesitated, but the manager shook her head. "Exactly where she is." Portia Vale stood several feet away in a cream designer suit, one hand resting on her narrow waist. At 36, Portia had built her entire identity around looking expensive. Her hair was sculpted into flawless shoulder-length bob. Gold earrings framed a face that could turn from charming to cruel without disturbing her lipstick. Camille had met women like her before. Women who treated kindness like a reward reserved for people wearing the right labels. Portia lifted the brooch with a silk cloth and looked toward the gathering crowd. It came directly from her bag. "That's not true," said a young sales associate near the perfume counter. The words came quietly, but Camille heard them. So did Portia. Portia turned her head. The associate, Keisha Monroe, looked no older than 25. She wore the same black uniform as the other sales staff, though hers was slightly faded at the elbows. Her hands trembled as she held a tablet against her chest. "What did you say?" Portia asked. Keisha swallowed. "I said I didn't think it came from her bag." Portia's expression sharpened. "You don't think?" "I saw Mr. Lyle standing near her tote when she was in the fitting area." Mr. Lyle, Portia's assistant, took a quick step backward. "That is a serious accusation," Portia said. "I'm only saying what I saw." "You saw nothing." Oh, the elevator doors opened behind them. A tall man in a navy suit stepped into the showroom, followed by 2 members of the corporate staff. Silver touched the edges of his beard, but his smile was still the same smooth, practiced smile Camille remembered from 15 years earlier. Andre Weller stopped when he saw her. For a fraction of a second, surprise broke through his confidence. Then he laughed. Not loudly, not yet. He walked closer, looking at Camille as if she were an unpleasant memory that had somehow wandered into his building. "Camille?" The guard loosened his hold just enough for her to turn her head. "Hello, Andre." Portia looked between them. "You know her?" "I used to." Andre's gaze traveled over Camille's coat, her simple black trousers, and the scuffed leather flats she had worn. She expected to spend the afternoon walking. He gave a quiet shake of his head. "I should have known." Camille's voice remained controlled. "Known what?" "That sooner or later, you'd show up somewhere you didn't belong and make a scene." Several shoppers exchanged curious looks. Portia moved closer to him. Her hand brushed his sleeve with the casual possession of a woman who wanted everyone to notice their intimacy. "Who is she?" Portia asked. Andre kept his eyes on Camille. "My ex-wife." A murmur moved through the crowd. Andre seemed to enjoy it. "She always had expensive dreams," he continued. "Just never the money to pay for them." The woman live streaming smiled in her phone. This was no longer only a suspected theft. It was a public scandal with a wealth executive, an ex-wife, and an audience heard for humiliation. Camille looked at Andre carefully. He had changed since the last time she saw him in person. The cheap confidence of his younger years had hardened into arrogance. His suit was tailored. His watch cost more than the car he had abandoned when he walked out on Camille and their infant daughter. But the contempt in his eyes had not changed at all. Portia folded her arms. That explains why she kept insisting on being served. Camille slowly looked toward her. "I asked to buy a dress. You demanded access to a private collection. I asked whether a blue evening gown came in another size. You entered an appointment, only salon without an appointment. There was no sign saying it was appointment only." Portia's smile became thin. "People familiar with Vantrelle usually know." Camille's eyes moved toward one of the ceiling cameras. "Is the courting system function today?" Andre gave another laugh, still pretending to be a lawyer. "No." "Then stop asking questions like one." Camille looked down at the brooch. "Preserve all footage from the last 2 hours. Preserve the point of sale records, staff communications, entry logs, and access records for that display case." Portia stared at her. "You are in no position to issue instructions. I'm making a request in front of witnesses. You're a suspected thief. And that makes the evidence more important, not less." For the first time, Andre's smile weakened. He knew that tone. Years ago, when they were both broke and living in a one-bedroom apartment outside Atlanta, Camille had used that same calm voice whenever a landlord tried to add an illegal fee or a client refused to pay her for freelance software work. Andre used to call it her courtroom voice, even though she had never studied law. He had once admired it. Later, he had hated it. Portia gestured toward the guard. "Take her to the security office." Keisha stepped forward. "Ms. Vale, we should wait for the police." "You are done speaking." "But I helped her when she came in. She never went near the jewelry case." "You helped her after I told you not to." "I thought she was a customer." Portia glanced at Camille and then back at Keisha. "That was your first mistake." Keisha's face changed, not anger, fear. The kind of fear that came from needing a paycheck more than you needed to defend yourself. Andre leaned close to Portia and whispered something. Portia nodded. Then Andre looked at Camille. "You always wanted people to think you were important," he said. "Maybe this time you finally got the attention you were looking for." Camille's calm expression did not move, but something cold settled behind her ribs. Andre had left when their daughter, Zuri, was 11 months old. He had emptied their joint account, taken the car, and told Camille she was too ambitious to be a good wife. He said her software idea was a fantasy and that he refused to spend his life paying bills while she chased it. 3 months later, he filed for divorce. 6 months after that, he moved to New York. For years, he sent irregular child support payments and even more irregular excuses. When Zuri turned 6, the payment stopped completely. Andre claimed he had lost his job. Camille later discovered he had received a promotion that same month. She never chased him. Not because she did not need the money then, but because every legal battle took time away from building the company that would eventually change her life. Andre knew Camille's small software firm had survived. He knew she had done well enough to purchase a comfortable home and send Zuri to a good school. What he did not know was that the logistics platform he once mocked had become the operating system behind dozens of major retail networks. He did not know Camille had rejected interviews, voided magazine covers, and placed most of her investments behind private holding companies. He did not know her personal wealth had passed $1 billion 3 years earlier. And he certainly did know that Harbor 9 Capital, the investment group that had quiet rescued Vantrelle from bankruptcy, belonged entirely to her. Camille owned 61% of the company. Andre was humiliated, the controlling owner of the store, where he served as chief financial officer. And she had no intention of telling him yet. Police officer arrived 12 minutes later. By then, the livestream had more than 40,000 viewers. Portia insisted Camille had behaved suspiciously from the moment she entered. She claimed Camille had repeatedly asked about prices, wandered into restricted areas, and refused to leave. But Portia tried to speak again, but Portia ordered another employee to escort her downstairs. Camille watched her go. Before the elevator closed, Keisha looked back and gave Camille a tiny nod. It was not an apology. It was a promise. At the security office reviewed Camille's identification and confirmed that the black payment card Portia had called stolen was registered in Camille's name. They found no other merchandise in her bag. One officer asked Shasha exactly who had discovered the brooch. Portia said a security guard had noted it when Camille's tote fell open. The guard said Portia's assistant had pointed out. The assistant said he could not remember. Camille answered every question without raising her voice. When an officer asked whether she wanted to file a complaint about the force used against her, she said yes. Andre's confidence began to shift. "You're really going to drag this out?" he asked. Camille looked at him from the chair across the security desk. A woman was physically restrained after property appeared in her bag. Either I stole it or someone planted it. Which possibility would you prefer the police investigate? Andre's jaw tightened. Portia stepped between them. "We are prepared to decline prosecution if she agrees never to return." One officer looked at Portia in disbelief. "You'd get to decline prosecutes for something we haven't established happened." "I'm trying to resolve the situation quietly." "You live streamed it," Camille said. Portia's eyes fixed toward her. "The woman filming is a paid Vantrelle brand partner." Camille continued. "Her name is Simone Crest. Her contract requires management approval before she broadcasts inside the store." Andre stared at Camille. "She should not have known that." Portia recovered quickly. "You looked her up." "My phone was on the floor." The officer turned toward Andre. "Who has authority to release security footage?" "Corporate legal." "Call them." "There's no need." "There is now." Andre left the room to make the call. Camille sat quietly, listening to soft hum of security monitors. On one screen, customers continued shopping. On another, employees gathered in nervous clusters. A third screen had gone black. Camille pointed to it. "What camera is that?" The security guard glanced over. "Jewelry salon, east entrance." "When did it stop working?" He checked the system. "About 40 minutes ago." Portia answered too quickly. "It's been unreliable all week." Camille nodded. "Then there should be a maintenance ticket." Portia said nothing. The police did not arrest Camille. There was not enough evidence, and the conflicting statements made the store's accusation unstable. The offers document the brooch collected names and instructed Vantrelle not to destroy any recordings. Outside, reporters were already gathering. The livestream had spread across social media with the caption, "Broke ex-wife caught stealing from luxury store where former husband is CFO." Camille left through the front entrance. Instead of the private exit the officers offered her. Camera flashes exploded across the sidewalk. Did you steal the brooch? Were you trying to embarrass your ex-husband? Is it true your card was declined? Why were you shopping at Vantrelle? Camille stopped under the gold awning. Rain had begun to fall, soft but steady. She looked directly at the nearest camera. I came to buy a dress for my daughter, she said. I did not steal anything. The truth will be clearer when everyone stops talking long enough to look at the evidence. Then she walked into the rain. A black sedan waited at the curb. The driver opened the rear door, and Camille slid inside. Her general counsel, Talia Wynne, sat in the opposite seat with 2 phones and an open laptop. Talia was 44, broad-shouldered, sharp-eyed, and famous within corporate law circles for making dishonest executives forget how to breathe. She looked Camille over. Are you hurt? My shoulder is sore. Hospital. Later. Talia turned the lap toward her. The video is everywhere. I know. We can issue a statement revealing your ownership tonight. No. Camille. Not yet. Talia studied her face. You think the brooch was planted? I know it was. How? The clasp. Talia frowned. That brooch was part of the controlled intershipment from Antwerp, Camille said. The pieces had microdot identifier placed beneath the clasps. Talia's eyes narrowed. The forensic audit shipment. Camille nodded. 3 months earlier, had shown unexplained loss at several Vantrelle locations. Zuri pieces were being marked as damaged or destroy, then disappearing from inventory. Andre had blamed outdated systems and employee theft. Camille had approved a concealed tracking program. Only 4 people knew about it. Camille, Talia, the forensic auditor, and the board's compliance chair. If that brooch came from the controlled shipment, Talia said, it should have been locked in the central vault. Exactly. So whoever planted it had access to stolen inventory. And they were willing to use it against me without knowing who I was. But Talia closed the lap halfway. You went there because of the discrimination complaints. Camille looked out at the rain streaking the window. During the past year, Vantrelle's anonymous employee hotline had received sent complaints from black customers who said they were followed, ignored, searched, or publicly embarrassed. 11 complaints came from the flagship store managed by Portia. Everyone had been closed as unsubstantiated. Smile. Camille had not announced her visit because she wanted to see the culture without a performance prepared for the owner. She had expected cold service. She had not expected evidence of a financial conspiracy to be dropped into her bag. Freeze the executive servers, Camille said, quietly, mirror everything before Andre realized we're moving. What about the board? Tell the compliance chair only. And Portia, let her believe she won. By the time Camille reached home, Zuri was sitting at the kitchen island in her school sweatshirt, watching the video on a tablet. She had Camille's eyes and her father's height. Though Camille rarely thought of Andre when she looked at her daughter. Zuri's thick braids were tied in a loose knot, and her violin rested in its open case beside her. When Camille entered, Zuri stood so fast the stool scraped the floor. Mom, I'm okay. He put his hands on you. I know. They called you a thief. I know that too. Zuri's face tightened, and he was there. Camille removed her coat carefully. Pain moved through her shoulder. Zuri crossed the room and hugged her without touching the injured side. Andre had not seen his daughter in almost 8 years. He sent birthday texts occasionally, usually a day late. Once, when Zuri was 10, he promised to attend her school concert. She spent the entire evening looking toward the auditorium doors. He never came. Afterward, he said he had been trapped in a board meeting. Zuri never invited him again. I hate him, she whispered. Camille rested her chin against her daughter's braids. No, you don't. I could. You could, but that would make him too important. Zuri stepped back. Are you going to tell everyone you own the company? Eventually. Eventually. He thinks I'm powerless. People become careless when they believe that. Zuri stared at her for a moment. Then the anger in her face softened understanding. What you need me to do? Practice for Saturday. Mom, you have a youth orchestra performance, and I still need a dress. Zuri looked toward the screen where Portia's face was frozen mid-accusation. We are not buying it from that store. Camille almost smiled. No, we are not. The next morning, Vantrelle released a public statement. It described Camille as an identified visitor involved in a regrettable security incident. It said management had acted according to policy, and that the company remained committed to providing a welcoming environment for all customers. Andre called Camille 30 minutes later. She let ring twice before answering. You need to stop this, he said. I haven't started anything. Your lawyer contact the police. My lawyer requested evidence. You're turning a Munson danding into a circus. You allowed a paid influencer to broadcast me being restrained. I didn't allow anything. You stood there. Andre exhaled sharply. Listen to me. Portia is being considered for a senior corporate position. This kind of scandal could destroy her career. Camille looked at the city through her office window. And that concerns me because you don't understand the world you walked into. Camille's mouth curved slightly. You're right, Andre. One of us does not understand it. He ignored the warning. If you sign a confidentiality agreement, Vantrelle will offer you $25,000 and cover your medical expenses. You're offering me money? I'm offering you a way to leave with some dignity. Camille's voice cooled. My dignity never entered the store with a price tag. Don't be dramatic. Preserve your emails. Silence followed. What? You heard me. Camille ended the call. By noon, Talia's forensic team had found the first hidden payment. Vantrelle had paid more than $6 million over 18 months to a vendor called Crescent Image Solutions. The company claimed to provide security analytics and inventory protection. Its registered address belonged to Portia's cousin. Its bank account had transferred money to a private foundation controlled by Andre. The foundation was called Zuri's Promise. Camille stared at the name on Talia's screen. For several seconds, she could not speak. He used her name. He registered the foundation 4 years ago. Talia said, to fund arts programs for low-income girls. Has it funded anything? Less than $80,000 total. Most donations were redirected in consulting expenses, travel, and executive housing. Camille's hands went still on the desk. Andre had ignored his daughter for years. But he had used her name to polish his reputation and move stolen money. Talia watched Camille carefully. We can shut it down today. No. Camille, I want every transaction traced first. The investigation widened. The control brooch had been removed from the vault 3 days before Camille entered the store. Electronic records showed the vault was open using Portia's credentials. Curated from the hallway showed Mr. Lyle carrying a small velvet case into Portia's office. A deleted text recovered from Andre's corporate phone read, "If the inspector shows up, give Portia room to handle it. We can't have anyone digging before the gala." They had known Camille was the inspector. They had only known Harbor 9 intended to send someone. Portia had mistaken Camille for a suspicious customer at first. But when Andre recognized her, he apparently decided she could be used as a distraction. He told Portia that Camille was bitter, unstable, and desperate for money. Then he authorized the public statement accusing her without reviewing the evidence. Keisha contacted Talia that evening. She had been fired. Portia claimed she violated employee conduct rules by interfering with a security investigation. Keisha had something the store did not know about. Her phone had been recording audio for a voice memo when Mr. Lyle approached Camille's tote. The phone was sitting beneath the sales counter, angled towards the salon. The video was partially blocked, but the audio was clear. Portia could be heard saying, "Put it somewhere they'll find it." Mr. Lyle whispered, "What if she sees me?" Andre's voice answered, "She's too busy trying to prove she belongs here." Camille listened to the recording twice. The second time she closed her eyes. Not because she was shocked. Because Andre's voice carried the same casual cruelty he had used years ago when he told her she would fail without him. Talia stopped the audio. "That is conspiracy, event tampering, and filing a false report. Keisha needs protection. She's frightened. Her in a hotel under our legal team's name, pay her lost wages through the witness fund. She asked whether you were the owner. What did you say?" "That you were the woman she tried to help." Camille nodded. "That's enough for now." On Friday, Andre announced that the Vantrelle Legacy Gala would proceed as scheduled. The event was supposed to raise money for arts education. Nearly 500 guests were expected at the flag store, including board members, investors, celebrities, journalists, and city officials. Andre planned to use the gala to restore the company's image. He also planned to announce Portia as Vantrelle's new chief operating officer. Tal wanted Camille to cancel the event. Camille refused. "No private termination," she said. "No quiet resignation package. They used a public stage to strip me of my dignity. The truth deserves witness too." On Saturday evening, the flagship store glowed beneath hundreds of lights. The jewelry counters had been removed from the central floor and replaced with white tables, silver flowers, and a raised stage. A string quartet played near the staircase. Champagne moved through the crowd. A giant screen displayed the logo of Zuri's Promise, above photographs of smiling girls holding musical instruments. Andre stood near the stage greeting donors. Portia wore a red gown and a diamond necklace taken from Vantrelle promotional collection. She looked triumphant. The scandal had not disappeared, but their public relations team had shifted the story. Anonymous source and Camille had a history of emotional instability and resentment toward her wealthy ex-husband. Simone Crest posted a tearful video saying she never intended to contribute to racial tension. She did not apologize to Camille by name. At 8:15, the front doors opened. Camille entered with Zuri beside her. Camille wore a midnight blue gown designed by a young black designer from Baltimore. The cut was simple, elegant, and strong. Her natural curls framed her face, and the only jewelry she wore was a small gold pendant Zuri had given her for Mother's Day. Zuri wore a deep green dress and carried her violin case. Conversations faded as they crossed the floor. Portia saw them first. Her triumph turned in disbelief. Andre followed her gaze. For one brief moment, fear peered in his eyes. Then he straightened his jacket and walked toward them. "What are you doing here?" he demanded under his breath. Camille looked around the crowded room, attending the gala. "You are not invited." Zuri's eyes moved to the screen displaying her name. "What is that?" she asked. Andre glanced at her. Recognition came slowly. "Zuri." She looked directly at him. He smiled as if they were meeting after a short business trip instead of 8 years. "You've grown." Zuri's face remained still. That usually happens when time passes. Andre's smile collapsed. Portia stepped forward. Security is going to escort both of you out. Camille looked at the stage. You may want to wait until after the ownership announcement. Andre's eyes narrowed. How'd you know about that? Before Camille answered, the board's compliance chair, Nathaniel Rowe, approached them. Nathaniel was 62, silver-haired and normally unshakable. Tonight, his expression was grim. Ms. Brooks, he said, we're ready. Andre stared at him. Why are you speaking to her? Nathaniel did not answer. He walked to stage and tapped the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? The music stopped. Guests turned toward him. Andre moved closer to Camille. Whatever game you're playing, end it now. Camille looked at him. You ended your chance to ask for favors when you used our daughter's name to steal money. The color drained from his face. Portia gripped his arm. What is she talking about? Nathaniel began speaking. 6 months ago, Harbor 9 Capital completed its acquisition of a controlling interest in Vantrelle Holdings. At the request of our majority owner, her identity remained confidential during the structuring period. Andre looked toward the exits. 2 uniformed officers had entered the room. Talia stood beside them. Nathaniel continued. Tonight, that own has authorized us to disclose her identity. The giant screen changed. The Zuri's Promise logo disappeared. In its place appeared a photograph of Camille standing inside the headquarters of Arkwell Systems, surrounded by engineers and employees. Below the photograph were the words, Camille Brooks, founder, Harbor 9 Capital. Majority, Vantrelle Holdings. A gasp rolled across the room. Portia stepped backward. Her heel caught the edge of a tablecloth, sending a champagne glass crashing to the floor. Andre stared at the screen, then at Camille, then back at the screen. No, he whispered. Camille walked toward the stage. People moved aside without being asked. Simone lowered her phone. Camille climbed the steps and stood beside Nathaniel. She did not smile. I entered this store 3 days ago as a customer, she began. I wore ordinary clothes. I carried an ordinary bag. I did not announce my position because I wanted to understand how Vantrelle treated people who appeared unable to influence its future. Portia looked around desperately, as if searching for someone willing to defend her. No one moved. Camille continued. I was ignored, mocked, falsely accused, physically restrained, and broadcast online before anyone confirmed that a crime had taken place. The screen displayed footage from the jewelry hallway. Mr. Lyle peered carrying the velvet case into Portia's office. Portia's mouth fell open. That footage was deleted, she said. Talia answered from the floor. Deleting a file does not always erase it. The next clip showed Portia opening the vault using her access code. Andre turned toward her. You told me there were no cameras. Portia's face twisted. You told me to handle her. You planted it. You said she was nobody. The crowd reacted sharply. Camille let their panic expose them. Then Keisha's recording played through the speakers. Portia's voice filled the store. Put it somewhere they'll find it. Mr. Lyle asked what would happen if Camille saw him. Andre answered, she's too busy trying to prove she belongs here. Andre lunged toward the sound technician. An officer blocked him. That recording is illegal, Andre shouted. You can't use that. Talia stepped forward. You can discuss admissibility with the district attorney. Camille looked at Portia. The brooch planted in my tote was part of a controlled forensic shipment. It contained a hidden identifier. The item had been removed from inventory and falsely listed as damaged. The screen changed again. Bank transfers appeared one after another. Crescent Image Solutions. Executive consulting payments. Luxury apartment expenses. Private travel. Transfers into Zuri's Promise. Andre's breathing became ragged. Portia stared at him. You said the accounts were protected. You signed the invoices. Because you told me to. You took the money too. Guest stepped away from them as though guilt might spread through contact. Camille turned toward her daughter. Zuri stood beside the stage, holding her violin case with both hands. Camille's voice softened, but only slightly. The most painful discovery was not that company money had been stolen. It was that my daughter's name had been used to hide it. The screen displayed the foundation records. Zuri's photographs appeared on incorporation documents, submitted without Camille's consent. It was an old-school picture, taken when Zuri was 9. Andre looked at his daughter. Zuri, I created that foundation for you. She stared at him. You created it 4 years ago. Yes. You haven't spoken to me in 3. That isn't fair. You missed every birthday, every concert, and every time I asked Mom whether you were coming. Andre's eyes darted toward the watching crowd. This is a family matter. Zuri's voice remained steady. Then you should not have put my name on a screen, in front of 500 strangers. Andre stepped toward her. Camille moved between them. An officer caught Andre by the arm. Sir, stay where you are. His composure finally broke. He turned to Camille. You can't do this to me. I didn't. You set me up. I walked into a store you controlled. You chose everything that happened next. We were married. You remembered that when you need my silence. You forgot it when our daughter needed a father. Andre's eyes filled with panic. I can repay the money. It was never only about the money. Portia began crying. Not quietly. Her shoulders shook as she grabbed the edge of a table. Camille, please, she said. I made a mistake. Camille looked at her. A mistake is bring someone the wrong dress size. You ordered an employee to plant stolen property in my bag. I was under pressure. You fired the one person who told the truth. Portia turned toward the crowd. Keisha understood what she saw. The front doors opened again. Keisha entered beside another attorney. She wore a simple black dress and carried the same tablet she had held during the incident. Portia's lips parted. Keisha stopped several feet away. No, she said. I understood perfectly. A wave of applause began near the back of the room. It grew till the entire floor filled with it. Keisha looked overwhelmed. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she did not lower her head. Camille waited until the applause faded. Effective immediately, Andre Weller is removed as Chief Financial Officer. Portia Vale is terminated from all positions within Vantrelle. Their access to company accounts and property has been revoked. Andre jerked against the officer's grip. You cannot fire me in front of everyone. Camille held his gaze. You had no problem accusing me in front of everyone. 2 investigators approached with documents. Andre's face changed when he saw the handcuffs. Wait. One investigator informed him that he was being arrested on suspicion of wire fraud, conspiracy, evidence tampering, and filing a false report. Portia tried to run. Made it 3 steps before her red gown caught beneath her shoe. She fell against a table, sending silver flowers and champagne bottles across the floor. An officer helped her stand and placed her in handcuffs while camera captured every second. Portia's mascara streaked down her cheeks. Camille, please tell them this is a misunderstanding. Camille's expression did not change. I gave you that opportunity before you touched my bag. Andre was handcuffed next. He looked smaller without his practiced smile. Sophos led him past Zuri. He stopped. Tell your mother not to destroy your father. Zuri's eyes filled with tears, but her voice did not shake. You did not need her help. Andre flinched, as if she had struck him. The officers took him away. The gala did not end. Camille refused to let the innocent employees, young musicians, and legitimate scholarship recipients lose their evening because of the people who had exploited them. She returned to the microphone. The money raised tonight will not pass through Zuri's promise. That foundation is being dissolved. Whispers moved through the room. Harbor 9 Capital will personally replace every legitimate donation, dollar for dollar. We will also establish an independent arts fund supervised by educators, parents, and community leaders with publicly available financial records. Applause rose again. Camille lifted a hand. There is one more matter. She looked toward Keisha. The employee who defended a customer while senior leaders ordered her to remain silent was fired for telling the truth. Keisha Monroe has been offered reinstatement with full back pay. Keisha covered her mouth. Camille smiled for the first time that evening. She has also been offered a role on Vantrelle's new customer integrity team, where she will help investigate discrimination complaints across every location. The applause became thunderous. Keisha walked toward the stage, crying openly now. When Camille embraced her, Keisha whispered, "I didn't know who you were." Camille held her shoulders and looked into her eyes. "That is why what you did mattered." 3 months later, and sand fraud and some serious charges, after Portia's agreed to cooperate with prosecutors. Their partnership disintegrated almost immediately. Portia blamed Andre for designing the scheme. Andre produced messes, proving Portia had stolen additional inventory without his knowledge. Each tried to save them by exposing the other. Andre lost his position, his apartment, purchased with stolen monies. He was sentenced to several years in federal prison and ordered to repay millions in restitution. Portia received a shorter sentence because of her cooperation, but her career in luxury retail was over. Brands removed her from campaigns. Former friends stopped answering her calls. The social circle she had valued in character disappeared the moment her status did. Mr. Lyle admitted planting the brooch. He avoided prison, but received probation, community service, and a permanent criminal record. Simone Crest issued a public apology after losing 3 major sponsorships. Her first apology focused on her intentions. No one accepted it. Her second apology named Camille and acknowledged that she had turned a black woman's humiliation into entertainment without checking the truth. Camille did not respond publicly. Vantrelle board chair resigned after an independent review found that he had ignored repeated warnings about Andre's financial practices. Several managers were dismissed. Others were retrained. Camille did not close the flagship store or punish employees who had no role in the scheme. Instead, she rebuilt the company's complaint system, placed independent investigator outside the executive chain of command, and tied leadership bonuses to verified customer treatment standards. She called the policy the dignity rule. Was simple. No customer would be judged by clothing, accent, age, disability, race, or the amount employees assumed they could spend. Any search or detention required documented evidence and immediate review. Employees who reported Mahant would be protected rather than punished. Keisha became one of the strongest voices in the new program. 6 months after the gala, Vantrelle reopened its flagship jewelry salon. Camille attended the ceremony in the same camel coat she had worn the day she was accused. Reporters noticed. One asked why she had chosen it. Camille looked down at the sleeve and smiled. Because there was anything wrong with the coat. That evening, Zuri performed with the City Youth Orchestra in a renovated community theater funded through the New Arts Foundation. She wore a blue dress from a small black-owned boutique. Camille sat in the front row. When Zuri lifted her violin, the auditorium settled into silence. Her bow moved across the strings, and the first clear note rose above the audience. Camille thought about the marble floor, the brooch beside her feet, and Andre's certainty that she was powerless. He had believed dignity came from wealth. Portia had believed respect belonged only to people who looked important. Both of them had been wrong. Money had given Camille the power to expose them, but it had not created her value. She had possessed that long before the company, the investment counts, or the title of billionaire. Her worth had been there when she was a frightened young mother building software after midnight. It had been there when Andre left. It had been there when strangers raised their phones to record her humiliation. And it had been there when Keisha defended her without knowing whether Camille had $1 or $1 billion. As Zuri's music filled the theater, Camille understood that character was revealed most clearly in the way people treated someone they believed could do nothing for them. Power did not make a person honorable. It only made their choices louder.